Hi, Sparkies. As we continue in the New Testament Bible biographies this week, we are studying about the Apostle Paul. Now, we've talked about Paul before. He started out persecuting people who believed in Jesus, and he ended his life as perhaps the greatest missionary in the early church. But let's review Paul's life a little bit to catch up to the part of his life that we are going to learn about in Green Jewel 3.2. So about the year 5, Paul was born. Now we are in the year 2021 now, and Paul was born in 5. When he was 29 years old, he put his faith in Jesus as his Savior. Paul traveled to many cities teaching people about Jesus, and many people believed in Jesus because Paul had come to teach them. But many people got angry with Paul and did not believe him. When Paul was about 43, the angry people in the city of Lystra got so angry with Paul that they stoned him. They thought they had killed Paul, but he wasn't really dead. He got up and went back into the city. Paul continued traveling around and telling people about Jesus. Now, about 3 years after the stoning, Paul was put into jail. The Bible biography in Green Jewel 3.1 tells about how Paul got out of jail. For another 6 years, Paul traveled around still telling people about Jesus. And when he was in his early 50s, he was arrested again. This time, he was in Jerusalem. Now, the location of Paul's prison changed a few times, but he remained in custody. And finally, Paul told the people who arrested him that he wanted to go to Rome for his trial. And that's where today's Bible biography picks up, because they needed to take a boat to get to Rome. In the book of Acts, chapter 27, we read all about Paul's boat trip to Rome. So I have a map for you, and they started off about here, okay? And the first stop was up here in Sidon, and then they traveled over the river, over the island there, and they got to Myra, okay? And they changed ships, and then after several days, they went from there and they got up to, I don't know how to say that, Sindras, something like that, okay? And then they headed south around the Isle of Crete, and they ended up here in Fair Havens, all right? Now, the captain of the boat then, his plan was to sail on to Phoenix, which is over here on the end of that island, okay? And then he was going to stop there for the winter. But Paul said that it was too dangerous for them to go try to do that. But they didn't listen to Paul, and they went ahead and they set sail. And a terrible storm came on them, and they were blown way off course. For 14 days it stormed. And instead of ending up here, they ended up all the way over here. And finally, the ship ran off, it came up on a reef and it got stuck there. And the winds were tearing the ship apart, so everybody jumped overboard and everybody got safely to that island of Malta. Now, they stayed on Malta for 3 months before they sailed on. And while they were on Malta, Paul healed so many people in God's power. See, Paul's life as a believer in Jesus Christ was not easy. There was prison, there were beatings, there was stoning, there was a shipwreck, but everywhere he went, Paul told people about Jesus. And many, many people came to trust Jesus as their Savior because of Paul. Now, next week, there is no Awana because it's spring break. So have a great spring break, be careful, and tell someone about Jesus. Bye, y'all.